Yeah, that's a big dog hunt. Hello again, everybody. Joe Staszak, along with my good friend Steve Kallas right over there. It's time for another episode of Kallas Remarks with yours truly and the man of the hour, Steve Kallas. Steven, how you doing today, my friend?
All good, Joe. Great to be with you as always.
Yeah, football's getting closer and closer to kickoff for real, but I want to start with baseball because in Dyersville, Iowa last night, and I know this was scheduled last year, and I read about it 2 years ago that I thought this was going to be a neat idea. However, I never liked the movie, and I'm like one of the only people on the planet who didn't like the movie. Thought it was a little corny, but for what they did and how they reenacted it, I thought they pulled it off. And Kevin Costner looking like he's about 73. Yeah, that's fine. Throwing out the line about is this heaven? No, it's Iowa. 7,000 people there. The players coming through the cornfields. Now, most of them weren't even born when the movie came out in '89. And I'll get to Tim Henderson in a little bit. But what do you think overall? It's, the NHL does the outdoor games. It's kind of a spectacle. I kind of like it's different. So for that matter, I kind of liked it last night.
I think this is the answer to the NHL outdoor game, and I think they'll play one every year. And you know what? I think it's a good idea. They might as well play two every year because I agree. I did like the movie. It is a bit corny, but that's all part of the mystique of baseball. Right. It goes back 150 years, et cetera, et cetera. Still my favorite sport. Happy to say that to football and basketball and hockey fans. Still the most nuanced sport. And forever the hardest sport to be good at. I'm sorry. You never see a guy coming out of high school and going to the majors ever. You never even see a guy really coming directly out of college and dominating. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason Jim Thorpe couldn't hit a curveball and he was an okay baseball player. There's a reason Michael Jordan tried, couldn't hit a curveball. There's reasons why these guys, now there's a few exceptions, Bo Jackson, Deion Sanders to a lesser degree. Years ago, Dave DeBusschere of the Knicks pitched for the White Sox. So you do have guys who can do it. I'm just saying it's the hardest game by far to be really good at.
Totally.
And it's a game of failure. You succeed 3 out of 10 times, you got a good chance to be in the Hall of Fame.
In the Hall of Fame.
Nowadays, to win a batting title, I think. But, look, I think they did a good job. I think it's a great idea. It still didn't stop ESPN from leading with exhibition football games, which bothers me a little. I know we'll get to the football games, but come on, it's preseason.
Right.
And I know we'll talk about that.
Preseason.
But I thought it's a great idea, and I think they should do it even more than. Why should they just do it once a year? Do it twice a year. I don't want them to do it every week because then it would lose that thing. But
dilute it, sure.
The presentation was good. You're right, walking through the cornfield. You got a guy like Aaron Judge, 6'7", 250, with Stanton. You got monsters walking through the field. I was just hoping Shoeless Joe would walk through and he could say, they should have had a guy play Shoeless Joe, walk through and say, Mr. Commissioner, how am I not in the Hall of Fame? I hit 375. You told me I jumped the World Series. Give me a break. That would have been great, but you're not going to do that.
You should have been on a committee. That's a great idea. I love it.
But the game was a great game. The Yankees were down 3 in the ninth. They bring in their big closer, Liam. He's like 6-2 or 7-2. He's got great numbers. Blah blah blah. And he gives up two-run homers to Judge and Stanton. And that hasn't happened much this year with Judge and Stanton homer in the same game. But then, Timmy Anderson, who's a new superstar. I mean, the guy's a superstar. He gets up in the bottom of the ninth. Everything was flying out to right field. Oh. Not that we'd ever bet on an over-under in a baseball game, but next year in Iowa, I'm betting the over right now because the balls were flying out of there.
They were.
And the final was 9-8. It was a great idea. It's almost better than the hockey because somehow the hockey can get messed up by the weather outdoors because they're not playing it in Canada.
Right.
That wouldn't get messed up. Plus, you have global warming. I don't know how that's going to happen in the next few years. But, I love the outdoor hockey game. And I love this idea. I hope they do it every year. And it was, you're right, Kevin Costner. But look, it was corny. But you know what, Joe? I think it's meant to be corny. And most people eat that up. Yeah. I also like James Earl Jones with the voice. That's great stuff even today.
I love when Darth Vader does anything. But I did have one problem, Steve, and I'm going to defer to you because you're Mr. Baseball. I'm not huge on statistics. I don't care about asterisks and who hit home runs in the steroid era. Baseball is very big on that. I get it. They're sacred numbers. This is something kind of a subset thereof. Liam Hendricks comes in and gives up 4 earned runs in the 9th inning and blows the save and gets the win because Tim Anderson hits a 2-run home run in the bottom of. Come on, really? He gets the win for that.
We've talked about it for years. It's maybe the dumbest thing that they do in baseball. And what we also talked about is when the starting pitcher doesn't go 5 innings, but when he leaves the game, his team is winning and they go on to win, the scorer, the official scorer, gets to pick who he thought pitched the best from the winning team and can give them the win. So why not, when a guy gives up 4 runs in the top of the 9th to blow a 3-run lead, how can he possibly get the win? They should have given it to the starting pitcher or whoever pitched the best. It should be the same rule. And it just seems to get no traction because why? We've been doing this for 100 years or whatever the heck it is. It's so stupid. And it happens a lot, as you know.
It does.
It happens a lot. And so I think that should be a rule change. I wouldn't say it's number 1 on my list. I think we should do away with beer league softball in extra innings. They had this thing last week. The Yankees blew 4 saves against Kansas City in the same game, but they won the game. And that's like never happened. But
Wow.
when you start with a man on second, you're going to get in the 10th, depending, if it's a doubleheader in the 8th, 9th, and 10th. In this game, I think it was like the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th, or the 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th. Well, you're going to blow saves if you give them a man on second with nobody out. That's a different blown save than what happened with Hendricks yesterday.
No.
Who, by the way, is now like, what is he, 7-2 or 8-2?
He's 7-2 now. He's 7.
Maybe he's a Cy Young candidate because Ohtani is now 7-1. He won yesterday or the day before. And DeGrom can't even pitch now, although it looks like your guy Wheeler, the former Met Wheeler, who has found the fountain of youth and the fountain of fastball. And I watched that whole game. Didn't he 2-hit the Mets last week, I think it was?
Yeah, he did.
That was just incredible. I put that with the Garrett Cole 1-0 win over Houston. Those are the 2 best pitched games. And when I see a game being pitched like that, I'll stay with it to the end. I'm okay with yesterday 9-8, but I love a close, low scoring game. So I think you're right. They should change the rule. I've never seen a movement for that. I don't know if people just don't see what we see, but it's the dumbest thing on earth. Same thing happened a couple of times with Diaz of the Mets in the past. He was blowing so many games that they actually came back and won 1 or 2, and he got the win, and that's a joke.
It's a joke.
You're right.
Oh, yeah, rough outing for Liam Hendricks. He leaves with a win. Okay, it is what it is.
What was his ERA for that game where he got the win?
Yeah, right. I'll tell you. Hold on one second. I can. That's a good question. Let me find it there. His ERA last night was.
Was it 4 runs? Was it 4 runs in 1 inning? Because then it's 36.
He pitched 1 inning and gave up four runs.
36. It's 4 times 9.
1 inning, 36. Right. 36 ERA last night. He gets the win. Go baseball. I love it. He also walked a guy, 3 strikeouts. It's crazy stuff. But let's talk a little NFL football. You're right. ESPN led with preseason football. I glean nothing from preseason, like zero. Like I try my hardest not to say, oh, they look crisp last night. They look good. No, it's preseason, people. It is preseason. But since we do this to analyze what we watch, we'll talk a little bit about the Eagles and Steelers. Eagles had a nice little lead, but who cares about the outcome of the game? Dwayne Haskins comes in for the Steelers. I'm not a big fan of Dwayne Haskins, but Jalen Hurts, 3 of 7, a couple drops. How did you think he looked last night?
I thought he looked good. I thought he threw the ball well. He didn't have to do anything with his feet, nor should he, especially in exhibition season, I think.
Right.
But, you know, I was surprised, though. Tell me if it's different now, Joe, because it's 3 games instead of 4. So many of the starters started, and I don't recall that in the past in the first game. Maybe I'm wrong, but, you know, I saw, for example, Lane Johnson, who's beset with injuries for the last how many years. I saw him out there at the beginning. There were a lot of guys out there, and I think that's the norm because it looked like everybody I watched started, but the Patriots started their whole offensive line except for Andrews, who's got the center, who's coming back. But I was surprised, but maybe with 3 games it's different. So, for example, will the 3rd game be the 4th game this year where nobody plays, no starter plays?
That's a good question.
Will the 2nd game be the game where the starter, like will Cam Newton against the Eagles next Thursday, by the way, will he play the first half like they normally do in that next to last exhibition game?
Yeah.
And so I thought Jalen Hurts looked good. I thought Joe Flacco, I know he was aided by what was that, a 79-yard wide receiver screen. But you know, he was like 10 for 17 for 179. So he would have had 9 completions for like 100 yards without him. Look, Joe Flacco's a good backup to have. If you're buying into Jalen Hurts, we'll see how he starts during the season. But I thought he looked, you know, he looked like a pro quarterback to me. And I don't know where the Eagles are going because I'm not sure about their wide receivers. I know Watkins is fast, but we know all the Philly receivers are fast because they draft for speed. That doesn't mean they're good receivers. That means they can run fast. But yesterday, he certainly showed that explosiveness that you like to see. And didn't Hurts just miss him down the sideline?
Yes.
Was that Watkins too?
Yeah, I think it was Watkins.
Yeah, that's an 80-yard touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't miss by much, but also a couple of drops, as you said, including Zach Ertz, which is surprising. I thought on balance, he looked good.
I agree with you. He's out. Quez Watkins is out playing Jalen Reagor, which is going to be interesting because even in practice, now again, it's only one game in practice, right? Yeah, exactly, right? So that's going to be interesting. Overall, Nick Sirianni, first-year head coach, his coordinator, was a coordinator for a minute in San Diego. The defensive coordinator, first time. A lot of first-time guys on the Eagles coaching staff. How do you think overall, you know, the kind of structure and crispness did you think about the Eagles last night? What did you think?
I thought it was pretty good. I think, you know, I think the best thing for the Eagles, though, is that they're still in the bad division. And you can say anything you want about all 4 of those teams, but it was maybe the worst division ever at the beginning of the year last year. This year, it's just, in my opinion, a bad division. These guys spend a ton of money. All these teams spend a ton of money. But I don't know if that's going to make them good. And I don't know. They're talking about Dak Prescott now. Is he going to be able to play in the first game? He's got some kind of shoulder problem. I mean, the first regular season game against Tampa. And I just don't know if there are questions already. But, you know, in today's game, every sport we talk about, we say the same thing. You tell me who's going to be the healthiest team in that division, and they have a good chance to win. I don't think the Giants are very good. I think Washington, as you know, has that really good defense. We'll see if Fitzmagic can do it. Apparently, Fitzmagic is the starter. You know, we like the other guy, Heineke. He played really well in that playoff game last year. But it looks like they're starting with Fitzpatrick. I don't know if he's better being the come off the bench and rescue Tua like he did a few times last year. The miracle throw of all time when they twisted his head sideways. He had a 4. That's the greatest pass I've ever seen. I'm sorry. I want to see somebody show it 40 yards downfield. He was looking at the sidelines. It's not even. It's anything you tell me about the best quarterback in football throwing look away passes. Mahomes doing. That's the greatest look away pass in history. He just didn't mean it that way. But whatever. So I think on balance, you know, first game the Eagles looked good. The Steelers looked good. I will say defensively, the Eagles, you know, Mason Rudolph, wasn't he like 8 for 9 or something? Yeah. The quarterback numbers for the Steelers were awful good, but it looks to me like virtually everybody including the Patriots, they're just playing dink and dunk. And I don't know if they're all going to go that way. It's kind of the West Coast offense to some degree, but I didn't see many people throwing the ball way down the field. Hurts took a shot. Flacco threw a screen. Flacco got the 80 yards that maybe Hurts could have had. Hurts also had that nice, was that Hurts into
Hurts
the end zone?
To Goddard down the close sideline was a big play.
Oh, on the right. Yeah, that was. So look, I think he made some good throws. He had a couple of drops. What are you going to do? Welcome to the NFL. I think on balance, it was good. Does that mean I think they're going to win even the NFC East? I think they're better than the Giants. I think Dallas is a question mark. And I picked Washington last year to win this year because of their defense. And now they have, I think, a good quarterback combo. I don't know if I'd go the way they're going to go. They're going with the veteran, but it's going to be a better division. But the notion that it's better than average, I don't think it is. Joe, what do you think?
I don't. Better than that. That's funny, considering the Eagles were still in the hunt last year with 4 wins and 2 games left. No, it's not a good division, Steve. You're right. We'll see how the Giants, pan out. Joe Judge cracking the whip up there at MetLife. Skins have the front 7 on defense, like you mentioned, and Fitzpatrick. Taylor Heineke. I think that was the closest game the Bucs played last year. That was his first game, and everyone said this guy's got to be, I was like, well, let's hold on a little bit. It was only 1 game, but I'm not sure where they're going if he's the quarterback of the future there. They got rid of Dwayne Haskins, as you know, last year. One little nugget, the biggest concern this morning in Philadelphia was Miles Sanders did not play last night. And people thought, well, okay, giving him a rest. Maybe the game plan didn't include him. Jordan Howard, who, I'm a big Jordan Howard guy. They threw a lot, and you want to see Jalen Hurts, give him some reps and whatnot. Miles Sanders is notoriously bad at picking up blitzes, and the Steelers actually blitzed last night. Jordan Howard put some linebackers on their butt. Yeah. Miles Sanders, if he can't pick up blitzes, and when he's in the game, they're going to run the football. So the biggest concern in Philadelphia, there's always some concern, but it's Miles Sanders, kind of learning how to pick up the blitz and kind of understanding where they're coming from, where pressure's coming from. So we'll see how that goes. Now, the other game, the New England and the Washington game, Cam Newton is still the starter. He still doesn't seem, I know it's preseason, but I think at ESPN, like his average, the ball was in the air like 3 or 4 yards. And the kid from Alabama came in, and I thought he looked really good. I thought, again, it's preseason, and I don't like to take a lot from it, but I thought he looked really good.
Mac Jones did a really good job. It was also interesting, and they intimated this on the telecast. So the first pass he threw was called incomplete, but on replay, the guy definitely caught it, but Belichick didn't challenge. And one of the announcers said it might be because he wants to see him in the 3rd and 5. If they challenge and they win, he gets the first down. Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. And then he threw, a short pass for a completion. I thought Mac Jones was good. The biggest question I took away from, and I know everybody loves Cam Newton, but there's only one question with Cam Newton. Can he throw the ball down the field? And that was not answered yesterday.
Oh, sure.
And our guy, Louis Riddick, who we love, he treats Cam Newton with kid gloves, and he said,
I saw that. Yeah.
He said something like, he didn't really sling it, but that'll come. Well, hold it now. If Cam Newton is good and can throw it, I would have gone play action on the first pass and threw it 50 yards down the field, just so I can show the world I can throw. Are we going to fake it till the first game of the year? Are we going to have him dink and dunk? Because you got to know if he can throw it. And the biggest problem last year, look, they didn't have near the talent level they have now. But the biggest problem to me last year was, he literally could not throw the ball down the field. I mean, it's like Ben Simmons not shooting. And I'm not even trying to be funny. It's just can you throw the ball down the field? Because here's my view, because the Patriots are going to be very good. And if Cam Newton can throw the ball down the field, they're going to be real, real good. I don't view them as Super Bowl contenders, but I view them as really good playoff team that you don't want to play. And it looks like they're going to pound the ball. They're going to be a running team. I get that. And they went a lot of play action with Mac Jones, who I thought looked good and threw it well. And Cam Newton really complimented him. Cam Newton has said and done all the right things in New England. Maybe he knew this was his last chance, but Belichick always liked him. He's got a great work ethic, and he kind of was like, whatever happens, happens. But they seem to be at least friendly outwardly. I don't know how it works behind. It's not Aaron Rodgers,
right.
But I'm serious. If Cam Newton cannot throw the ball down the field, and they're a good team looking to be a better team, you might see Mac Jones early in the season. But I saw nothing yesterday. I think he threw one ball 15 yards, and I'm counting the 5 or 6 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
Right.
In the middle for first down.
Yeah.
But Louis Riddick was very nice, saying, "Oh, that'll come later."
He was.
Well, I hope he knows something that we don't know, because he looked like Cam Newton of last year. He just go back and sling it, and we still don't know. And I guess you'll tell me we have 2 games to go. But if the starters aren't going to play the last game like they normally don't, then we've got 1 game. And he only played 2 series. So they must know whether he can sling it or not. And maybe they don't want to show their cards in the first game they play. They're going to go play action on first down and throw a bomb, and nobody will be ready for it. But that would be a little strange. The other thing I want to say about that game, nobody watched the end of that game. They didn't even mention it on ESPN, which I was surprised. And this is one of these football coaching things. What happened? It's 15-13. Washington goes for the 2-point conversion. It's called a catch. So it's 15-15. But on review, the ball had hit the ground. So it's no catch. So they're up to the Patriots. The Patriots are getting the ball. There's 1 minute and 24 seconds left. Belichick takes a knee. Washington has 2 timeouts left. Now Belichick's taking a knee. The game's over. But Rivera calls time. And they showed Belichick on the sidelines, and he was pissed. So on second down, they ran the ball to the left instead of taking a knee. Rivera uses his last time. On the third play, they do a run around right end, and Stevenson runs 91 yards for a touchdown.
Right.
And there was something there. I wish they had showed the coaches after the game, because they showed Belichick after the first time, and he's taking the knee. Let's get out of here.
Right.
Let's not get anybody hurt in the last minute. And Rivera said, no, we're going all out. And Belichick said, okay. And not that you and I would ever bet an exhibition game, because we wouldn't.
That makes money.
The spread was Patriots 2. So if the 2-point conversion had counted, it would have been tied, but it didn't. And then the game is over, except because of Rivera, the Patriots covered because the guy ran 91 yards for a touchdown.
Amazing.
You can't make that stuff up.
You can't make that up, man. I've been on the wrong side of Manny.
Joe, I didn't know. I thought it had to be at least Patriots 3. And had it been 3.
I love it.
Not that we care about that, at least in the exhibition season.
All right. Well, sad news. A couple days ago, Tony Esposito, one of the great goaltenders of all time for the Chicago Blackhawks, passed away at age 78. What can you tell me about Espo? He was a little before my time, but I know he beat the Soviets in 72. He was a right-handed goal. He caught the puck with his right hand. He was a left-handed goaltender, so which was a little different than most goaltenders are right-handed. But your thoughts on Espo?
He was a great goalie, and whenever we've talked recently, and this is my fault, we talk about Carey Price and Lundqvist as being maybe the 2 greatest goalies not to win a cup. But Tony Esposito, who by the way was drafted by the Montreal Canadiens, even played like only a few games. And then in his rookie year with the Blackhawks, he had 15 shutouts. He won the Vezina Trophy, which back then was for the least number of goals by a team, but he was the main guy. He had 15 shutouts. He was Rookie of the Year. And people forget, I forget who won it, but he was second in the Hart Trophy, which is the MVP of the whole league. Yeah. That's how good he was. And early on in his career, I think that was the 68-69 season, but he made the Cup Finals twice very early on and lost to the Canadiens when they were the Canadiens both times. So I think it was Dan Marino like it. He got there like 2 times in his first 4 years, and they're like, how many more chances am I going to get?
Right.
And he never got a chance. But 423 wins, 10th all time. I think it was like 76 shutouts. tied for 10th all time, was really one of the first guys. I'll say it again. Way back then, they called these guys floppers. It was not, look, the butterfly was not,
Yeah.
they were called floppers. It was not viewed to be like most
Really?
goalies stood up on low shots. But he was one of the first, if not the first. And I think that's also what made him a great goaltender. Of course, Phil Esposito's brother. Of course, they're both in the Hall of Fame. So yeah, I think during this coming hockey season, when we talk about greatest goalie never to win a cup, I'll say Carey Price, Lundqvist, and Tony Esposito. And there might be some guy even further back that I don't either know about or certainly don't remember. But yeah, one of the great goalies of all time, died of pancreatic cancer, which is tough at the age of 78. But a great, great goaltender. Went to the playoffs 13 years in a row, and he's second all time for going to consecutive years. And I couldn't even find out who's first all time for going. Probably some Canadians goalie, but I don't know. But he was a great goalie. He was a butterfly goalie, not a flopper. And, I feel, talk about a guy who should have won a cup or deserved to win a cup, and was a Blackhawks lifer after those first, I think he played like 9 games with the Canadians first year. And then he was off to the races in Chicago.
Picked up on waivers. How about that? It's a nice pickup by the Blackhawks. The other guy I want to talk about before we get out of here, my friend, J.R. Richard, former pitcher for the Houston Astros. You saw more of him than I did. I remember him being an integral part of the NLCS in 1980 when the Phillies played the Astros, and that's when they played best of 5. He passed away early August at the age of 71. What can you tell us about J.R. Richard?
J.R. Richard was a monster. I thought destined for the Hall of Fame. He was so dominant. I read a couple of quotes from Dusty Baker, who said he was the toughest guy I ever faced. He looked like he was throwing from 50 feet because he was 6'8", had a long stride, excellent strikeout pitcher, had over 300 strikeouts in 2 seasons. And he had a string of 4 years where he went 20 wins, 18 wins, 18 wins, 18 wins. And then the next year he was 10-4, and that's when he got his stroke. And what's really been whitewashed through all of this, and you might remember this, I think it was the late 70s by then, he had people, he was complaining about stuff, and people was saying you were lazy. It was almost like a racist thing. You're lazy, get out there and pitch. What are you doing? You're loafing. And he kept going out there and pitched, and eventually he had a stroke while he was on the active roster. I don't know if it was right in a game, but he was 10-4 that year, and he just stopped. He tried to make a comeback and never could. He was in the minors. He never got back to the majors. But it's kind of interesting to me how very few, I think the Times obituary might have mentioned it, but very few people talk that was a disgusting thing, because they were like blaming him because they didn't know what was wrong with him. And then they found out the hard way, the guy had a stroke. But he was a nasty pitcher. Joe Morgan, Hall of Famer, said that J.R. Richard, years ago, said that J.R. Richard had the best stuff he had ever seen. And Dusty Baker just the other day said, toughest guy I ever faced. And that's from 2 pretty good hitters.
Pretty good company.
And so I thought he was destined for the Hall of Fame because he was so scary. I think Baker said you were like, you never felt comfortable stepping in the box against him, which I think is nice for saying, I'm a little scared. And a couple of other guys talked about how people would get JR-itis when they were playing and he was pitching because they didn't want to somehow be in the lineup. Now you've heard that about other guys, but it wouldn't surprise me if that was true with J.R. Richard, because he had an unbelievable fastball and a great slider. And I'll say it again, he struck out over 300 guys twice. And it just takes us back to then versus now.
Yeah.
But he was a great, great pitcher. And I'm glad, frankly, he made it, to now. But very sad. And again, just a tremendous talent. And I think he didn't get blackballed, but he got criticized. And I'm going to guess he drove himself to go out and keep pitching. And for all we know, that's what caused his stroke. I don't know the exact details, but I know he had a stroke midseason and the season was over. And for all intents and purposes, his major league career was over.
What a shame. What a shame. He finished up with 107 wins, 71 losses, 3.15 ERA, and just under 1,500 strikeouts. J.R. Richard dead at the age of 71. Great stuff, my friend. You can catch Steve's stuff on his Facebook page, his Facebook forum page. Speaking of Sports with Steve Kallas, you could also check out his videos, westchestercountypost.com, on YouTube. You can find this podcast on YouTube also every week, and on Steve's Facebook page, and on my Facebook page. And you can follow me on Twitter at Joe Staszak 975. Great job again, my friend, and we'll catch up with you in a few days.
Looking forward to it, Joe. Here comes football.
There comes football. Thanks, folks. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you next week.